Supreme Court has reserved its verdict on all the pleas that have been challenged as far as Aadhaar goes. Remember, a 5-member constitutional bench has been hearing this. Let me go across to my colleague Abhimanyu Sharma, who tracks Supreme Court very closely for us. So, Abhimanyu, the Supreme Court reserving its verdict. Recap what happened today. I'm guessing today would have been the last hearing on this entire matter.
38th day of the hearing which took place today, and this has been one of the longest hearings in the history of the Supreme Court, and there have been submissions made by not only several petitioners, several senior advocates, but also by the UIDAI as well as the Government of India. The UIDAI and the Centre had argued in favor of the Aadhaar scheme, whereas several petitioners who had challenged the constitutional validity of the Aadhaar scheme, they had cited right to privacy and several other concerns. On the last day of hearing itself, there were several observations too which were made by the apex court, whether subsidy is a benefit or a right, and whether Aadhaar, an act like Aadhaar requires a regulator or not. So these were the observations which were made on the final day of hearing today. Additionally, several submissions which were also made. There were allegations raised by several petitioners that private players have access to Aadhaar data, something which was rebutted in the earlier hearings by UIDAI. UIDAI had submitted that although private players were responsible for collection of data, it was not stored with them, and hence it was deemed that it was safe with them, it was not stored. Whereas several petitioners have cited right to privacy and have also cited several other similar laws in other countries to justify their case. They have also cited that there may be serious implications of passing a non-money bill as a money bill, challenging the very constitutionality of the passage of the Aadhaar Act in the Parliament. It was submitted by several senior advocates in the apex court, also which continued on the final day of the hearing, that the court cannot possibly save a fundamentally unconstitutional legislation which has been passed in an unconstitutional way. These were the arguments which were given on the final day by senior advocate P. Chidambaram while arguing for a petitioner. And now something, of course, which remains to be seen in the verdict would be in what light or in what context all arguments which have been put forth not only by the UIDAI, which have tried to clarify certain points of law and have tried to assuage all doubts which have been raised by several petitioners, would be taken up by the court. Additionally, in what light right to privacy judgment
Abhimanyu, hang in there. I'm going to bring an expert on as well. We're getting reactions on this. Nikhil Kumar joining us. Hi, Nikhil. This is Nayantara joining in from the New Delhi studio. So the 38 days of hearing by a 5-member constitutional bench. It's perhaps we've never seen such an activity take place in the Supreme Court, showing the importance behind this as well. We can't second guess what the verdict is, but one very interesting observation being made from the Supreme Court today is that maybe Aadhaar needs a regulator, and there's no regulator as of now. What do you make of this? And would that also indicate that the UIDAI doesn't have regulatory functions? Can you clarify that for us?
Yeah, if you look at a lot of systems in India, especially, let's say, if you take the example of the financial systems, the regulator and the operating agency are usually decoupled. In the case of payments, for example, while NPCI is the retail payments infrastructure provider, RBI is the regulator. So usually it's good practice to decouple both the regulator and the operating agency. In the case of UIDAI, UIDAI is both the regulator and the operating agency. What this really means is UIDAI in some sense doesn't have a regulator above them who oversees their function. It's the responsibility of UIDAI itself. I think this is a welcome suggestion or observation by the court. And having an independent regulator who looks into UIDAI will only help in improving the ecosystem and also solve for a lot of challenges that are being faced in terms of data security, the way Aadhaar is implemented in various different DBT programs, etc., etc.
So much for taking out time for us. Always good to get perspective for you. This is, of course, a big national story that is breaking right now on ET Now. With that,